Hello. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about a question someone has asked me, which is that how is the prevailing macroeconomic situation because of the tariffs going to impact the banking and finance world and therefore impact job opportunities in these fields. Okay, very good question actually. I would need probably 1 hour to talk about that, but I'd like to keep it short. Well, tariffs are never good in a free market economy. Well, countries have utilized this option for a variety of reasons, especially the emerging market economies have explored this option because they want to save or they want to keep the interest of their own economy or industry and not kill it by allowing competition, right? But large economies and developed economies have done it rather less. Well, they have done it in the past, but more recently, they have been slightly lenient on that. Also because they have benefited a lot and not for any other reason, right? And US is also no exception to that. US has done tremendously well in exporting services and importing goods. And it has really worked for the US economy. Donald Trump obviously has a different view on that. And Donald Trump wants to revert that, change that, he wants to bring back manufacturing to US. I'm not going to go into details of as to whether that's going to help or not, but it's certainly going to have an impact, quite a bit of an impact in the world economy. We have already seen some impact, but things are evolving, and it's not entirely clear as to how things are going to change. Obviously, the U.S. economy is likely to get impacted quite heavily, but it's not going to be limited to just the US. And when the real economy um, anywhere in the world gets impacted, the world of finance obviously will get impacted directly, but also indirectly. I'm going to talk about that. And as someone asked me from a career point of view, how is that going to have an impact? Certainly, you will not have as many job opportunity in the field of finance as you would rather have in a growing economy, in a good economy, right? If US goes into recession, which probably going to happen if things remain the same, because we have seen a bit of a contraction in the last quarter. If that continues for a few more quarters, then officially US is in recession, right? If that really happens, right, a lot will change, right? There will be impact on profitability for many of these companies which are dependent on the US economy, the local US company as well, but also the foreign companies which are dependent on the US market. Okay, and if there is shrinkage in the profitability, what's going to happen? There's an obvious impact on the banks as well, because banks rely on the growth of these customers. If these customers are in trouble and they are not able to pay for for mortgages, for all kinds of things, then it's going to impact the banks. So lending activities will slow down. There will be many more defaults from retail customers, but also from SME customers, but also mid corporate customers. The large companies probably will find a way, and they obviously more solvent. But the small scale industries are very sensitive to macroeconomic changes, and they are going to get impacted, and there probably will be a lot of defaults. And we haven't seen many defaults post COVID because of the government support to many of these SME clients, but also to retail people. But that's has gone away, and now with recession, things are turning to be very very bad, and more number of defaults resulting in more losses for banks. And you never know, some banks might even go bankrupt, go or declare bankrupt. That's less likely because most banks around the world are very well capitalized, thanks to the regulations that have come in the last 10 years or 15 years so post 2008. But I do see quite a bit of trouble into the banking world if US goes to recession. Okay. And we might see also recession in other parts of the world as well, right? Some of the sectors in the banking world, especially the commercial real estate, but also a few other sectors, are under stress. Been under stress for some time already, and they're going to, things are going to be worse, even worse, with time if US goes to recession, and that has an impact on other countries as well. All right. So, taking all these things into account, one thing I can say is that the job opportunities in the field of finance is going to get impacted. There's no doubt about it. And finance is not an exception to that. All the sectors will get impacted. And but if there it turns out to be a banking crisis as well, which I don't see, to be honest. If it turns out to be a banking crisis, then banks will get impacted way more than other sectors, and therefore, the hiring will freeze, and many banks will go bust probably, and there will be a lot of issues to the bankers, right, or people who are interested in the field of banking. Okay, career in the field of finance. But finance is more than just banking, so maybe other sectors will do well, regardless of whether banks are doing well or not. But I don't see that to be the case. There is always a sideway impact, um, if there is a bad macroeconomic situation. So it's not just the one sector that gets impacted. There is quite a bit of a correlation, and hence I don't see any sectors will remain aloof from the impact, right? In terms of preparing yourself, I highly recommend not to get panicked, not to be very anxious. I always believe that we all are in the same boat. So, if you look back in history, there have been many such crises in the past, and people have lost jobs, and those people actually managed to find jobs after a while. So it's not a life or death situation in my view. But I really feel bad about the young folks, the people who are fresh out of university looking for jobs. Probably they are the one who going to be impacted the most. Experienced professionals probably will get less impacted because of the fact that they have a network, they have some net worth as well, they have some money, savings to rely on, and they have the skills to find a new job, or making a change in the career and so on. But the young folks are the one who will get impacted probably the most if things go worse from here. Remember that the job market is bad for the last 3 years, and is very, very bad for young people or the freshers in many countries. And if we go into recession, that's going to be there for at least 2 years. Huh? We don't come out of recession in 6 months' time. That almost never the case. So if that continues, then things might turn out to be really bad for the job seekers, especially the freshers. Uh, from my own experience of being a young aspiring job candidate back in 2008, I would say that have a bit of patience, good time to do something, learn something, and be frugal, manage your expenses, um, and try to survive it. It's only going to make you stronger over time, and you're going to thrive later on. I mean, crisis is always an opportunity to test your perseverance, test your resilience, and so on. So, don't be too anxious. That's my only advice. All right, thanks, guys. See you next time.